Good morning, all. Good morning, Flopeka.
Good morning, Doc.
Hi. I just want to check my screen share before the meeting starts. Is that okay?
No, that's correct.
Okay. You'll tell me on your side.
Yeah, it's
Full screen.
full screen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tupega. Sure.
Lwazi?
Yes, listen, man. I think I might leave early because my gadget is giving me problems, man.
I can see it's
Yeah.
kicking me in and out.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's okay.
Good morning, colleagues. It's now 5 minutes to 10. We'll just give everybody another 5 minutes to log on, and we'll start the meeting at 10 o'clock. Good morning, H.
Morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Recording in progress.
Chairperson.
Yes, good morning all. It's now 10 o'clock. Welcome to the Select Committee on Public Infrastructure and Minister in the Presidency final meeting for this year. It's good to have you all on board. Let us quickly just make sure that we are all in the house and we have a quorum. When I call your name, kindly just put your video on and say hello quickly. I see Honorable Mabebo.
I am available.
Good morning. Thank you.
I am available. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Though my video seems to...
Thank you, Honorable Mabebo. Good to hear your
Thank you
voice
very
and
much.
to see the top of your head. Let's see who else we have. Honorable Skeerkogel.
Hi, Chair, I'm here.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I see our Chief Whip, Honorable Moimang. Good morning, Honorable Moimang.
Honorable Chairperson, good morning. I was still struggling. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Good to hear your voice. Thank you. Honorable Molokome.
Morning, Chairperson and honorable members.
Good morning. Thank you, Committee Whip. Who else do we have? Honorable Makasini.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Honorable Kaunda.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to all honorable members and the team. I'm available, Chair, and I'm ready.
Thank you very much. Nice tie. Honorable Breed.
Morning, Chairperson. I'm present.
Good morning. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? It doesn't seem so. Great. Thank you very much. We do have a quorum. Can I just request during the...
Chairperson,
Who did I miss?
Chairperson, sorry to disturb. Honorable Mulukomi, I just want you to note that where I am, I have network coverage. If I break, you must pardon me. I'll be in and out.
No problem.
I'm
We
in
take no
Tabazimbi, Chair. I'm in Tabazimbi.
No problem. I think there's many people in Tabazimbi at this stage. That's probably the reason why we're having this meeting online. But you are very welcome and thank you for making the effort. Colleagues, can I just request that when we are partaking in the meeting, and when you want to say something, kindly raise your hand. If I don't acknowledge your hand, just make yourself clear and maybe put your camera on when you talk. That's just to assist the Parliamentary Monitoring Group as well as our partners who might want to take video clips of certain sections of the meeting while we are having the meeting. Thank you very much. Are there any apologies, Mr. Klupeka?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson. We have received apology from Honorable Nzimande. From last week, then even this week is also included. And also Honorable Briet says she will leave the meeting in the middle to go join the social services and also the minister. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We've noted those three apologies. Is it possible to flight the agenda for the meeting?
Yes, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Colleagues, as you can see, this morning we will have the consideration of written submissions on the marine oil pollution, the Preparedness, Response and Cooperation Bill. We'll do a quick question and answer session after that. Well, not so quick. We'll give enough time for questions and answers. Then we'll do the consideration of the committee report on the oversight visit to KwaZulu Natal. That report has been circulated to everybody, so we'll just quickly go through it. And then we have one set of minutes to adopt. And then we'll quickly just go through the draft framework of our committee program for 2025. And that should take us to closure around about 12:45, 1 o'clock, if not before. Can I please have a proposer for this agenda? Just by show of hands, please. Thank you very much, Honorable Breed. The seconder, Honorable Skeerkogel. Appreciate that. With that, welcome also to any of our department's representatives that are on the platform that will be observing today. while we do the consideration of the written submissions on the marine oil pollution bill, which will be led by our committee content advisor, Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, and Chairperson, honorable members, and all on the platform. Chair, so as indicated, I will provide an overview of the written submissions received on the marine oil pollution preparedness, response, and cooperation bill. The presentation will look at the objects of the bill, the parliamentary processing of the bill, the select committee processing of the bill, and then an overview of the written submissions received.
Dr. Clark, I'm sorry for interrupting you. If you can just maybe change your the screen so that we can see full screen of the presentation. At the moment, we're seeing half slide, and then we're seeing the next slide on the right. Thanks.
Apologies, committee.
No, you nearly had it. You nearly had it. You had it right. You just had to go to slideshow and then full presentation view. Perfect. Thank you.
Is it correct now, Chair?
100%. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Please proceed.
Some members will recall that the objects of the bill is to give effect to the International Convention on Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation, referred to as OPRC, and to provide for matters connected therewith. The bill provides for the process to regulate and manage the preparedness and response to major marine oil pollution incidents at the national level, and as well as cooperation with other countries as necessary and appropriate. It also provides for areas of cooperation related to the development of contingency plans, research, training, and exercise programs. I should remind members that Section 231 sub 4 of the Constitution stipulates that before any international agreement, such as the OPRC, can bind the Republic, such an agreement must be domesticated by means of domestic legislation giving effect to it. So the aim of the bill includes incorporating relevant provisions of the OPRC into South African law. On the parliamentary processing of the bill was introduced in Parliament in March 2022 and referred to the Portfolio Committee on Transport in the National Assembly. During the Portfolio Committee consideration of the bill, the Portfolio Committee considered submissions from various stakeholders, which resulted in several amendments that were made to the bill as introduced. The most important of these, which result in a B version of the bill, that being the version that's in front of the Select Committee today, included the following. To address protection and stronger risk assessments or risk policies with regard to marine and other wildlife, insertions were made to include references to species most at risk, as well as old wildlife, as well as extending responsibilities to operations within the vicinity of the colony in the relevant sections. Another amendment that was made, it was clearly indicated to base the cost of marine oil pollution risk assessments and the timeframes within which this must be done. The owner or operator of any port facility, oil handling facility, or offshore installation must, at its own cost, after 2 years of the commencement of the Act, undertake the marine oil pollution risk assessment. So having been introduced in March 2022, the B version of the bill was passed by the National Assembly and transmitted to the National Council of Provinces for concurrence. The bill lapsed under the 6th Parliament on 21 May 2024 and was subsequently revived in the 7th Parliament on 31 July 2024. And the bill has now been referred to the Select Committee on Public Infrastructure and Minister in the Presidency, our committee, in terms of Rule 119 of the NCOP rules. The Select Committee processing of the bill thus far. The Department of Transport briefed the Select Committee on the background and objects of the bill on 9 October 2024. Thereafter, an advert was placed in national media and the Parliament website calling for written submissions on the bill with a deadline of 30 November 2024. So the purpose of my input today, Chair and members, is to provide the committee with an overview of the number of submissions received and to give an overview of whether stakeholders have expressed support for the bill or not. The Department of Transport will then, in a further meeting, in detail respond to the written submissions made by stakeholders. Written submissions were received from 2 stakeholders. A joint submission was made by the Biodiversity Law Centre, SANCOP, BirdLife South Africa, the Green Connection, and Natural Justice. I will momentarily provide an overview of the joint submission, Chair, but it is my recommendation that those stakeholders be requested to address the committee with an oral submission on the amendments and their inputs on the bill. The second submission was received from the South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, SANCOP. On the objects of the bill committee, the SANCOP welcomes the bill as it is viewed as a significant step in improving South Africa's preparedness and is pleased to see that wildlife response has been included under several points of the bill. SANCOP, however, does want to raise a concern about the level of capacity, both personnel and resources, within government to implement the various activities listed in the bill. And SANCOP strongly urges that the government determines the capacity required to implement the bill successfully and to plan for it accordingly. The joint submission, as indicated, was submitted by Biodiversity Law Centre. And just on some background, the BLC is a non-profit organization and a law clinic. The second stakeholder is SANCOP. SANCOP is a registered non-profit organization with the primary objective to reverse the decline of the seabird population. It is also the mandated organization to respond to oiled seabirds as per the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. BLS is registered as a non-profit organization and is a member of 2 important working groups, the Offshore Environmental Working Group and the Offshore Operators Stakeholder Forum. The next stakeholder is Green Connection. They are also a non-profit country. They work extensively with coastal communities across South Africa, focusing on the protection of the oceans and the empowerment of local communities. Natural Justice is also a non-profit organization with their goals being to promote biodiversity and empowering local communities, including Indigenous communities. And so this is the submission, Honourable Chair and members, where my recommendation is to request that stakeholders to address the committee with an oral submission. On the objects of the bill, the joint submission expresses support for the long overdue domestication of the OPRC and the domestication of the OPRC through Clause 3 of the bill. So at this point, I will be providing an overview, an overarching view of the inputs provided by the joint submission. And members will see the submission essentially relate to a call to harmonize or ensure consistency across environmental law legislation. So if the recommendation is taken up to your oral submission, the stakeholders will then be in a position to expand on the overarching inputs and also to provide further information on the specific amendments proposed in their submission. The first overarching input in the joint submission is that the bill should give effect, the objects of the bill should state that the bill gives effect to environmental rights and obligations under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So while it is noted that the objects of the bill are closely aligned to the OPRC, the view is that there's a missed opportunity in terms of 2 respects. The first one is that it might be appropriate for the bill to reflect on the relationship between the OPRC and the rights in Section 24 of the Constitution, in particular Section 24 sub B, which provide that everyone has the right to have the environment protected through reasonable legislation and other measures. It is also noted that even though the OPRC is expressly refers to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which addresses protection and preservation of the marine environment, it is submitted that the bill's objective clause should make express reference to these obligations, that being the obligations under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, separate to the obligations under the OPRC. So again, coming back to the call to harmonize relevant legislation. The second input related to harmonization is that the application of environmental principles should be expressed in the bill. The bill concerns environmental management decision-making, and as such, it is subject to environmental management principles as set out in Section 2 of the NEMA Act, which specifies that applies throughout the Republic to the actions of all organs of state that may significantly affect the environment. And so it is submitted that it should be consistent with principles of legislative clarity, as well as obligations on all branches of government to respect, protect, and fulfill the rights in the Bill of Rights, for the bill being the Marine Oil Pollution Bill, to expressly indicate that Sections 2 of the National Environmental Management Act applies to decisions made in terms of the bill. The last submission related to consistency environmental law is consistency of language with the National Environmental Management Act and specific environmental management acts. The bill concerns decision-making obligations and conduct which affect South Africa's marine environment, as well as its coastline and biodiversity. So it is submitted there are areas of environmental management, including pollution management, that involve a large number of government agencies as well as private actors. And these stakeholders are not only bound by legislation falling within the Department of Transport portfolio, but also the National Environmental Management Act and specific environmental management acts, for example, Air Quality Management Acts. And to avoid confusion and assist all stakeholders, as well as supporting principles of cooperative governance, it is recommended that key terms should be aligned with defined terms and use of language with important overlapping legislation concerned with environmental matters. The third submission, a substantive submission related to the objects of the bill and the scope of the bill, relates to the omissions of obligations pertaining to ships flying the South African flag. Article 3 sub 1A of the OPRC requires that each party shall require that ships entitled to fly its flag have on board shipboard oil pollution emergency plans. However, it is submitted that the application of the bill to South African ships is not clear, and that accordingly, it is submitted that it is necessary to incorporate an additional provision in Clause 4 to provide for the bill's application to all ships entitled to fly South African flags. Related to the flying of South African flags, Clause 5 does not appear to contemplate oil pollution risk assessments to be undertaken by ships or shipping companies, and that is submitted that provision should be made through insertion of a new clause to provide that all ships flying the South African flags must have an oil pollution contingency plan. Similarly, the obligations on ships flying South African flags to report all pollution incidents when outside of South African waters does not appear to be accounted for in the bill. Large substantive input from the joint submission is related to the omission of specific provisions or support for research, development, and technical cooperation. Article 8 and 9 of the OPRC entail international obligations to cooperate in relation to research and development and in technical matters. These do not appear to have been accounted for in the bill, and that the joint submission is that it is important to clarify which organ of state is responsible for South Africa's international obligations in relation to research and development on the one hand, and technical assistance on the other hand. Thank you, Chair. So that provides an overview of the overarching inputs provided by the two stakeholder submissions. There is a recommendation that the stakeholders that did the joint submission address the committee with the oral submission. And I wish to remind members that the Department of Transport will, in a further meeting, be invited to provide a detailed response to both submissions received. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. I see your screen is still on our platform, but let's continue. Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Appreciate the presentation. Dr. Clark, I've noticed the recommendation that you've made in the presentation that we invite the Biodiversity Law Centre, SANCOP, and the Green Connection National Trustees for oral submissions. Would that invitation take place before or after departmental inputs?
We are able to schedule it on the same day, Chairperson. So the inputs the morning, and in the same afternoon, in the same meeting, the department responds.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any objections from the committee regarding that? Good. If there's no objections, then we'll schedule that. Thank you very much for that proposal, Dr. Clark. I support it, and it's also supported by the committee that we invite the Biodiversity Law Centre, SANCOP, BirdLife South Africa, and the Green Connection National Trustees to our committee meeting for oral submissions on that. Having said that, colleagues, and with the knowledge that they will be visiting our committee meeting in the new year, are there any questions from committee members to Dr. Clark on the submissions of these three NGOs? I don't see any hands. I see applause from Honourable Kaunda, which means that he's full support of this bill, which I'm sure we all are. Thank you very much. If there are no hands, then we can let questions stand over until the departmental input and oral submission session. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda then. That'll be the consideration of the Select Committee report of the Oversight visit to KwaZulu-Natal province, which took place from the 23rd to 25th of October 2024. Can I ask you to flight that report, please, Mr. Ntelini?
Thank you, Chairperson. Dr. Clark will flight it.
Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much, colleagues. This report has been circulated to everyone. We can just quickly go through it page by page. I will take hands if there are any inputs or corrections that you would like to submit. Let's start with page 1. You can just scroll down as we go along, Dr. Clark. Thank you. I'm not going to read anything verbatim because this report has been circulated and we have worked through it already. Thank you very much. Just continue scrolling down, and I'll just look for hands if there's any of the members who would like to make any inputs. Dr. Skierkogel, I see your hand. Stop, Dr. Clark.
Oh, no, at the end, Chair, at the end, I'll ask, no worry.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's fine. Just continue, Dr. Clark. Thank you very much.
That concludes the report, Chair.
Sorry, Dr. Clark, say again.
That concludes the report, Chair.
Is that the end of it? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's take some comments. Dr. Skierkwagel, you had your hand up.
Yes, Chair, let me just get to my notes. I just have two questions. In the report, it said that we will receive a report from, I think it was the Ugu District Municipality, about the monthly costs associated with the water tankers that they deliver. I don't know if we've received that because I think it's past a month already. And then remember when we went to the dump.
Sorry, can you just refer us to the point in the report where that's applicable?
Okay, just hold on, Chair. Let me just open that report for you, and then I'll tell you. Just hold on. 2.2. It's on 2.2.3 with the recommendations. Ugu District and Municipality provide monthly costs associated with the use of water tankers delivered to the communities. So I just want to find out, did we receive those reports or will we just have a follow-up on that, Chairperson?
Okay, got that one. What else have you got?
And the other one was, if it's the social infrastructure oversight, 0.3. With the recommendations, it was during that point 3.2, the observations, where we saw that we went to that Dankleweza community hall where there wasn't signs of vandalism, but there was no water tanker, so the facility doesn't have water. Some of the taps didn't have the faucet on top. There was no chairs for the community to use. There was no furniture. I just want to find out, have we received any feedback from the mayor? Remember, there was the mayor that met us there, or the ward councillor, I can't now remember, that spoke to us. I just want to find out what is the update on that community centre and relating the water so that place could be more functional and they have permanent security. And remember, we also looked at that on the side where they park, that area which will be dangerous for the community, just if there was any feedback on that. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other members that would like to make input? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ntalini, have you received any feedback regarding the first point that Honourable Skierkwagel raised, the Ugu District Municipality providing the monthly costs associated with the use of water? Have you received any feedback yet?
Chairperson, we haven't received the feedback.
Okay, can I informally request you to just prompt them for feedback on that, please?
We'll do so,
and let us then report back at our next meeting, if possible, if we receive the information. Similar to point 2 raised by Dr. Skierkwagel, if we could write to the municipality and just inquire whether any of the action points we highlighted with regards to that community hall, if anything have been actioned. It'll be good if we can maybe just ask them in the request, specify a timeline so that we could maybe get some sort of feedback before the next meeting, if possible. If that's in order, Mr. Ntalini.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. Taking those two considerations into account, Mr. Ntalini, are we going to adopt this report today or let it stand over for the next meeting?
Chairperson, we can adopt this report today.
Good. Can I then move for a proposal of this report? Dr. Skierkwagel, and is there a seconder for the report, please? Chief Moimang, thank you very much. Report is then duly adopted. Colleagues, yes, Mr. Ntalini.
Chief Whip Moimang was not part of the meeting, so he cannot, propose.
Was he not on that on that visit with us?
No, I was not there, Chair.
Sorry, Chief Whip, we're going to have to find another seconder for the report, if possible. Somebody who attended the visit.
Honorable Mabebo hereby second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mabebo. We take note of your secondment of the report and we thank you for that. Colleagues, can we then move on to the next point of the agenda, which is the consideration and adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 13th of November. That's the minutes of the meeting where we considered the 2023-24 annual report of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. It has been circulated to all the members. It's being flooded on the screen at the moment. We can just go through page 1. Any corrections, alterations, inputs? Page 2. Page 3. Committee deliberations. Good. Page 4. Thank you. I don't see any inputs from any members. Can we move for the adoption of those minutes as a true reflection of that meeting, please? Any proposer? Thank you very much, Honorable Kaunda, and seconded by Honorable Skeer-Kogel. Much appreciated. Colleagues, we now move on to the final item on our agenda for this morning. This will be the tabling of the draft term committee program framework for 2025. I'm going to ask Mr. Ntulini or Dr. Clark to flight the draft framework. And I'm going to ask Mr. Ntulini, if you don't mind taking us through the proposed program.
Thank you, Chairperson. Am I audible, Chair?
You are audible. Please continue.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. For giving us an opportunity to table the draft, report, program for 2025, January to April. Our report, Chairperson, will start our first meeting on the 19th of February. The reason for that is that, as you see, there's going to be an ANCOP members training from the 28th to the 31 January. Thereafter, then there is there is a joint sitting on the State of the Nation address. That is the reason why our meeting will start on 19th February. Our first meeting, Chairperson, is the meeting that at least we're also dealing with right now, whereby we will be receiving written responses from the department on the Marine Pollution Bill, and also then in the same meeting, Chairperson, then we will also include, the oral submission by those stakeholders. 26th February, Chairperson, and our members, it is the consideration of the protocol to amend, Convention on Offences and certain other acts committed on board aircraft, and consideration of the International Convention on the Civil Liability for Bunkers, Oil Pollution Damage. Then in March 4 to 5, then it is NCOP Committee Strategic Planning Session. 12 March, we will have an introductory session with the Transnet. The session will deal with the mandate, divisions, and historical attainment of performance targets. That this will be our first meeting with Transnet since it has been, transferred to the Department of Transport. Then the second meeting again on the 19th of March, we'll have the same meet as the Transnet one with the South African Airways, where we'll be receiving, the briefing on the mandate, division, historical attainment, and performance targets. 26 March, Chairperson and members, it will be the briefing by Department of Transport and Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA, on the progress on the implementation of the station modernization program. Then in April, there will be 3 spheres planning whereby the date is not yet confirmed. Then 9 April 2025, Chairperson will be considering negotiating mandates on the marine oil pollution. And also then the Department of Transport will respond to the negotiating mandates on the bill on the same day. Then the 16th of April 2025, then we'll be considering the final mandate and then adopting, the select committee report on the bill. That is the draft program, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ntalini. Are there any comments or inputs from any of the members of the committee on the draft framework program for next year? I don't see any hands. Just from my side, Mr. Ntalini, will we be doing any oversight visits during next year?
Chairperson, in terms of this first quarter of January to April, in terms of the framework, there is no slot for oversight.
Yeah, it looks like we've got quite a bit of committee work to do regards to the Marine Oil Bill and also the introduction to the other divisions of the Department of Transport. So, okay, that's noted. Thank you very much. Colleagues, here no further comment on this draft framework. We will submit this framework to the House Chair of Committees at the NCOP for approval, and obviously the venues for the different meetings we will try and secure as we go along. Good. If there are no further business, I would like to then just extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Honorable Kaunda. I see your hand.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to move for the adoption of the draft plan so that it becomes our formidable plan on the first quarter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that is noted, Honorable Kaunda. However, we need to submit the draft framework to the office of the House Chair of Chairs, and there might be changes from the House Chair of Chairs. So I don't want to move for the formal adoption of that framework in this meeting, as there might be something that the House Chair of Chairs do not approve of, and then we need to change it again. So, but we take note that you have moved for the adoption, and we thank you for that. Honourable members, with that, I would like to thank you all very much for your participation this year. It's certainly been a year where a lot of us who have not experienced the National Council of Provinces and the various clusters and cluster work have had to jump in from day one and had to deal with a lot of workload and had to come to grips with a lot of different portfolios within the clusters. Unlike the National Assembly, we have quite a few clusters, and each of us have to work within those clusters on various portfolios. So it's certainly not for the faint-hearted, and I think every single one of you during this year have certainly showed that you have the mettle to make good contributions in the National Council of Provinces. I wish everyone well on your travels. If you are traveling over the festive period, please travel safely. Enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones. And for those of you who celebrate Christmas, have a very blessed Christmas. And we wish you all well in the new year. And so thank you also very much to our staff, Mr. Ntalini, Dr. Clark, and Zeliswa. Thank you very much for your hard work, and may you also have a restful period. And if I may, I'm sending out a press release just after this meeting to convey our committee's wishes that everybody travels safely on our roads, as we also deal with transport, and also to thank all the law enforcement officers in South Africa that will be spending a lot of time away from their loved ones to ensure that we reach our loved ones safely over the festive period. With that, I'd like to thank you all for your inputs in this meeting and wish you a very happy 2025, where we will meet again. Thank you very much. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye, colleagues. See you this afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the invitation for us to come to Stellenbosch. Thank you, during December.
You're welcome. Just bring your wallet.
Thank you, Chairperson.